Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Hi, my name is Joette Darby, and I'm your host for The Truth, Power, and Strength in Jesus and God. And it is a program that's designed to give you food for thought so that we could utilize most of our brain. Also, it's designed to be interesting, challenging, and thought-provoking. I will be teaching you from the King James Version of the Bible and the things that God has taught me and given me and showed me over the years, and from Asalia Rashi's book entitled The Order of the Universe and Things You Should Know About the Messiah. And you can get that book at www.authorhouse.com. And that's AUTHORHOUSE. Or by calling 1-877-820-5393. I also have a podcast with the same title as this program, The Truth, Power, and Strength in Jesus and God. And that can be gotten at Anchor, ANCHOR.fm/Joette-Darby. And that's all lowercase letters. You could get the links to that podcast. And if you want to get in touch with Miss Rashid, you can use my email at darbyjoette at gmail.com. Now, today, last week I was telling you about the schools that I had attended, because I told you, and it says so in the Bible, that when God calls you, he qualifies you. I forgot to tell you that I also attended Randolph Vocational Tech Center in Detroit at Hubble and 6 Mile for carpentry, plumbing, and word processing classes. Okay, now today I'm going to read from Miss Rashid's book, and this is about how Anwar Sadat saved the Messiah. God had told me to start paying attention to what was going on around the world and to watch the world news. I started to watch not only the local news, but world news as well, and reading daily newspapers. During that time, the Camp David Summit involving Anwar Sadat, Menachem Begin, and President Jimmy Carter was very much in the news. The discussions were about the Camp David Accord and what was going on in the Middle East and Egypt coming of age in the 20th century. Egypt was once the cradle of civilization and highly advanced. Today, the country is again reaching its former heights, coinciding with the coming of Christ. Anwar Sadat, the country's leader at that time, who was a black man, was playing an extremely important role. Every day I watched the news and read the newspaper to keep up with everything. In between times, I looked for a job and did sewing to keep my mind positive and on an even keel. I also studied the Bible and attended church, sang in the choir, and participated in other church activities. I had plenty of free time since I wasn't working anywhere. Once again, I was out of a job and I started to become depressed. I felt that nothing had gone right in my life since the incident in Pittsburgh. I began contemplating suicide, keeping to myself, wrapped up in my own little world. It seemed like I had been suffering for years and it would never end. I remember one day in October 1981, while I was sitting alone and sulking, there was a news flash on television. It told about the assassination of President Anwar Sadat of Egypt. I had grown to admire Mr. Sadat after following his career for the past couple of years. Hearing the news flash instantly brought me out of my daze and I snapped back to reality. I soon forgot all about committing suicide. One could actually say that Anwar Sadat saved my life. I began to get myself together and started feeling more zeal for life. I decided to collect my unemployment benefits and to enjoy my free time, living one day at a time. I still sang in the choir, attended church, and watched the news. I started saving money to purchase a car. I also continued with my Bible studies. I remember one day in 1982, I sat studying the Bible, reading my favorite book, Revelations. I read in chapter 11, verse 2, which says, "But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 40 and 2 months. And 2 months. I read on to chapter 12, verse 6, where it says, "And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they could feed her there 1,260 days." I continue to read in chapter 13, verse 5, which says, "And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months." Then it suddenly hit me that all of these passages refer to measures of time. I added them up and they total 10.5 years, which I rounded off to 11 years. I asked myself, what does this number mean? I reflected for a while about all the things which had occurred and what was happening in the world, the relationships between these things and to each other, God, and the time. I thought about my visions from God and about the book of Revelation. Since I had been studying that book from childhood, I felt I had a pretty good grasp of what it contained. If I am correct, the prophecies of Revelation have been in effect in the world since before I was born in 1952. In order to determine exactly where we are in Revelations has also puzzled me until now. Watching the going ons in the world currently and through following history, I had to pick out the turning point. Since history repeats itself, I reason that Egypt, the cradle of civilization, was once the most advanced culture in the world. Being a black nation where it all began, Egypt will rise to that status once again. What goes around comes around, and a complete revolution is 360 degrees. Through watching history and the science of time, the world is very close to completing its revolution, in which the kingdom of God will be restored with law, order, and love. Also, the black nation, which started out on top, will soon be on top again. Since the wars were going on in the Middle East, and Egypt was again playing a very important role, I picked the date of Mr. Sadat's assassination, October 6, 1981, as the turning point. I took the year 1981 and added it to the 11-year total I'd gotten counting the verses from Revelation and got the total 1992. Then I thought, let me see how Jason's / God's son will be in the year 1992. The answer was 18 years old. In Detroit at that time, you were considered an adult at 18 years of age. It seemed to me that this was a correlation. And in 1992, when the child turned 18 years old, another great event should take place, be it the Battle of Armageddon or whatever. After discovering these correlations, I read other books to shed some light on some of the things that God had told and shown me. I found one book entitled Precious Stones by W.B. Crowe. What I learned was that the colors of the fraternities and sororities of the Afro-Panhellenic are represented by certain stones, and each color has a special meaning. The colors: Alpha Phi Alpha, fraternity, black and gold. Alpha Kappa Alpha, sorority, pink and green. Kappa Alpha Psi, fraternity, red and white. Delta Sigma Theta, sorority, red and white. Zeta Phi Beta, sorority, blue and white. Phi Beta Sigma, fraternity, blue and white. Omega Psi Phi, fraternity, purple and gold. Altogether, we are dealing with 8 stones to represent the fraternities and sororities of the Afro-Pan-Hellenic. However, from 1970 to 73, I was at the University of Pittsburgh. There were 7 black fraternities and sororities, plus one other organization called a social fellowship. This fellowship was made up of a group of black men who called themselves Groove 5 Groove, and their colors were black and white. I will return momentarily. So, continually, now we have 9 precious stones. 1, sapphire, which is blue, means wisdom, heaven, and sky. 2, emerald, which is green, means sympathy or understanding and promotes love. 3, amethyst, purple, means good counsel, promote chastity, and prevents drunkenness. 4, ruby, red, means devotion or piety, health and strength in the physical world, and action and passion in the astral world. 5, topaz, gold, means knowledge. 6, diamond, white, means fortitude, kinship, and power. Pearl, white, means sorrow, gospel, and purity. Zircon, pink, means femininity, humility, and assistance in childbirth. 9, onyx, black and white, means shows the opposition of black and white and is regarded as the cause of contention among friends. This stone has distinctive alternating black and white bands. Up to that time, the only stone I had never heard of was the zircon. I learned about it in 1972 when I asked Keith, the capper from Pitt, his birthstone. He replied, zircon. I asked him what color this particular stone was, and he said pink. Also, his birthday was on October 31st, Halloween. Later, I went to a jeweler and inquired about the color of the zircon. The jeweler told me it was pink, and that it is the birthstone for the month of October. Another thing I remembered about the fraternities and sororities of the Afro-Pan-Hellenic is the names they called their pledges. The names: Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Finksmen; Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Ivies; Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Pyramids; Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Scrollers; Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, Arconians; Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Crescents; Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Lepatos. I equated the name of the pledges with the beginning of civilization and the universe. To me, the Finksmen represented the Finks of ancient Egypt. The Scrollers represented the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Ivies represented eternal life. The pyramid represented the ancient Egyptian pyramid. The Arconians represented the first being, represented being first or ruling. The Lampados represented the light, the star or sun, and also brings to mind the light in Psalms 27. The crescents represented the different crescents of the moon. I do not care what anyone says. These names are symbolic and representative of many uncanny things. To me, it is the essence of God, the universe, and the beginning of man. Once again, we see the impact that Egypt has had on the world. Since God, the Alpha, is black, I understand why these particular names for the pledges were selected. As I had said previously, I started finding correlations to what God had told me and shown me. The more I read and put things together into perspective, the more sense things began to make. After getting my thoughts collected, I felt more secure about telling my story, so I decided to document it. I wrote it all down in outline form and passed it out to people. It was my hope that if people read the outline, they would come to me and ask for a more detailed explanation. I felt in this way I could get the information out to the masses. Well, I was wrong. I got very little response to no response at all, to negative responses from some individuals. I became discouraged and put the work down for 3 years. Now, I want to talk about, I had talked earlier on one of the segments that the world had ended August 25th, 1977. And that Judgment Day had started then. The gods told me that Judgment Day had just started. The Wayne County Circuit Court of Detroit was the Supreme Court of the universe, and for me to judge while Jesus Christ would be judging me. They said that Detroit was heaven. Then they asked me to name the Afro-Pan-Hellenic fraternities and sororities along with their colors. The gods then asked me to say the Greek alphabet. It was storming outside, and every time I gave the correct answer, I heard the crackle of thunder. For the three main questions: 1. What are the names of the fraternities and sororities in the Afro-Pan-Hellenic? 2. What are their colors? 3. What is the Greek alphabet? The thunder crackled extremely loud, and the sky lit up. The three questions represented earth, wind, and fire, which are the three elements that make up the universe. Even though we are told that there are four, the earth, wind, fire, and water, by the Greek philosopher, God said there's only three: earth, wind, and fire. Now, I also want to talk about several other things. After I went to work at Concept East Dance Theater, I worked with the director of the theater, Sahaya, who was a very good friend. I had met her in 1974 at the Concept East Dance Theater while I was attending Wayne State University. She had also been a student at Wayne State University, majoring in dance and anthropology. On occasion when I met her, I had picked up the school newspaper, the South End, and was reading through it as usual. I read about classes being offered at the Concept East Dance Theater. The Association of Black Dancers of Wayne State University were conducting a dance workshop at the theater for the summer, for which they could receive credit. Classes were open to the public at very low rates. I had always found modern dance fascinating, and when I was growing up, attending Concept East Dance Theater was the ultimate. So that day after class, I went home and discussed the dance classes with my younger sisters, my niece and her mother. Everyone got caught up in my excitement, said they would be glad to attend dance classes. I called the theater office to find out exactly where the theater was located and went there the next day after classes. When I arrived at the theater, the first thing I saw was a gold oriental doorway, which I thought was the entrance. The door was locked, so I walked around the building to see if there was another entrance. I went to the back of the building and found a door that was slightly ajar. Painted on the door and outside walls were figures of Africans and what appeared to be Native Americans. However, the place looked deserted, so I didn't go inside. I went back around the building and down to a corner station to use a payphone. I called Concept East, and the young lady answered and told me to come around to the back door and come up the stairs to the office. I returned to the theater and went back to the back door, still slightly ajar, and went in. When I got upstairs, there sat an attractive, light-skinned, petite young lady about my age. Her name was Sahaya. and Sahaya is half Native American and black. She is one of, she is the queen of the Native American Indians. And Kim Hogan, who is black and Asian, is the queen of the nations. And she was a judge in Highland Park. I went to school with all three. Now, I want to say that I love you and that may God and his precious son, Jesus, bless and prosper you until the next, and keep you until the next time.